Welcome, Stoic wisdom. Imagine standing at the foot of an ancient, gnarled tree, its bark a roadmap of seasons, its branches reaching towards the sky like a silent prayer. The air around it hums with a quiet resilience, a testament to centuries of sun and storm. You feel a gentle whisper in the breeze, a subtle invitation to learn from its steadfastness. You're living in a world that often demands instant results, where patience is a forgotten virtue, and the deep roots of wisdom seem to wither in the relentless pursuit of speed. You probably won't survive this frantic pace with your inner peace intact if you don't find a way to ground yourself. You might feel a constant pressure to rush, to achieve, to be more, all while feeling less connected to anything real. Your sense of calm, a distant memory, fleeting like a shadow. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. You find yourself not in the bustling agora, but in a quiet grove on the outskirts of ancient Athens, where ancient olive trees, their trunks twisted with age, stand as silent sentinels. The morning light filters through their leaves, dappling the ground in shifting patterns. Here, amidst the rustling leaves and the gentle scent of earth, you begin to understand the first lesson from the ancient tree, the deep roots of patience. This isn't about simply waiting passively, like a sleepy cat by a mouse hole. It's about active, deliberate endurance, a profound steadfastness in the face of life's inevitable changes. Think of the tree itself. It doesn't burst forth overnight, a towering monument to instant gratification. No, it pushes its roots down, slowly, persistently, drawing sustenance from the hidden depths. It withstands the scorching summer sun and the biting winter winds, not by fighting them, but by yielding just enough, by holding firm where it must. This is the essence of what Epictetus might have called focusing on what is within your control. You can't control the storms, but you can control how deeply you root yourself, how resiliently you stand. It's like trying to rush the dawn. You can wish for it, grumble about the dark, but the sun will rise precisely when it's ready, and your impatience changes nothing. A rather silly endeavor when you think about it. Patience, from a Stoic perspective, isn't a weakness, it's a strategic virtue. It allows you to pause, to observe, to respond with reason rather than react with emotion. You're learning to detach from the immediate outcome, understanding that true growth, like the growth of this ancient tree, takes time. You might recall our earlier discussions about the circle of control. This is applying that wisdom to the relentless ticking of the clock. You can control your effort, your attitude, your focus, but you cannot control the timeline. And trying to force it only leads to frustration, much like pulling on a sapling won't make it grow faster. It'll only risk damaging its tender roots. A mainstream historical fact: ancient olive trees, like the ones you now imagine, can live for hundreds, even thousands of years, bearing fruit consistently through countless generations. Their longevity is a testament to their patience and endurance. They simply are. Historians still argue whether early Stoic exercises specifically included lengthy periods of silent contemplation in nature, but the reverence for nature's processes was undoubtedly a strong influence on their philosophy. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some ancient arborists believed that whispering encouraging words to a young tree would help it grow stronger. While scientifically unsound, it speaks to a deeper truth. Our relationship with growth, whether of a tree or ourselves, is often about nurturing patience and acceptance. It's a quiet partnership with time. What if the frantic rush of modern life is actually preventing you from tapping into your deepest strengths? By slowing down, by cultivating this quiet resilience, you are allowing your own metaphorical roots to spread, anchoring you firmly against the storms of life. You are building not just a sturdy trunk, but an entire internal ecosystem designed for enduring growth. Having felt the grounding strength of patience's deep roots, you now face a more bracing reality, much like a tree must face the harshest season, accepting winter's harshness. In the Stoic view, adversity isn't something to be merely endured, but embraced, a necessary crucible for growth. You're not just surviving the cold, you're learning that the bitter chill and barren landscape are precisely what's needed for deeper development. Imagine the stark, unforgiving landscape of a winter forest. The leaves have fallen, the vibrant colors of autumn have faded, and a biting wind sweeps through the skeletal branches. Your initial instinct might be to pull back, to seek warmth and comfort, to long for spring. But the tree stands, seemingly dormant, yet beneath the frozen ground, its roots are silently strengthening, consolidating resources, preparing for the next burst of life. This isn't a period of stagnation, it's a period of crucial, invisible work. This mirrors Seneca's profound insight that difficulties are not obstacles to virtue, but opportunities for virtue. You don't get to prove your courage on a sunny, calm day, do you? No, courage reveals itself when the storm rages. This principle is about understanding that true resilience isn't built in constant sunshine. It's forged in the fire of challenge, hardened by the cold of discomfort. Every setback, every disappointment, every moment of perceived failure is, in fact, a vital nutrient for your soul's growth, much like winter snow feeds the dormant earth. You might find yourself wanting to complain, to rail against the unfairness of a situation, to wish things were easier. But what if those very difficulties are precisely what you need? What if, without the weight, your muscles would never grow? It's a bit like complaining about having to lift weights at the gym, then wondering why you aren't getting stronger. A bit paradoxical, really. A mainstream historical fact. The philosopher Epictetus, formerly a slave, taught that external events are indifferent, and it is our judgment of them that makes them good or bad. He believed that everything that happens, especially adversity, is a chance to practice virtue. His own life, filled with hardship, was a living testament to this teaching. He didn't curse his chains. He used them as an opportunity to cultivate his inner freedom. Historians still argue about the exact extent to which Stoics actively sought out adversity versus merely accepted it when it came, but the consensus is that they saw immense value in confronting it. Consider a quirky or fringe tidbit. Some ancient ascetic practices, common in various philosophical schools beyond just Stoicism, involved deliberately exposing oneself to cold or hunger, not just for physical toughening, but to diminish the fear of these states. Imagine deliberately enduring a chilly morning walk without a cloak, not to be miserable, but to prove to yourself that your happiness isn't dependent on external warmth. This builds a mental fortitude, a knowing glance at discomfort that says, "I've met you before, and I can endure." You might recall our earlier dive into voluntary discomfort. Accepting winter's harshness is the deeper, seasonal application of that lesson. You're learning to differentiate between genuine suffering and mere inconvenience, understanding that many of your problems are simply things you'd rather not experience, but which, paradoxically, can make you stronger. As the bite of winter settles into your bones, a profound realization begins to stir beneath the surface, much like the hidden life within the seemingly dormant tree, life beneath the frost. You discover that growth doesn't always look like outward expansion or vibrant display. Sometimes, the most crucial development happens in stillness, in the quiet, unseen depths. This is the Stoic understanding that true strength isn't about constant striving, but about the profound inner work that takes place even when the world outside seems barren. Imagine the tree in the deepest part of winter. Its branches are bare, no new leaves unfurl, no flowers bloom. To the casual observer, it might seem lifeless, a stark silhouette against the gray sky. Yet beneath the earth, its roots are not idle. They are reaching deeper, drawing in dormant nutrients, fortifying the entire structure against future gales. The sap is not flowing visibly, but vital processes are at play, a quiet consolidation of energy. This stillness is not an absence of life, but a different kind of life, a preparation. This is precisely what Marcus Aurelius often reflected upon, the importance of inner tranquility and strength, even amidst the turmoil of his imperial duties. He found power not in constant action, but in controlled, thoughtful pauses. This principle is about understanding that true progress isn't always linear or outwardly visible. Sometimes the most significant personal growth occurs when you are forced into introspection, when external distractions fall away and you are left only with yourself. It's during these winter periods that you solidify your character, deepen your understanding, and build an unshakable inner core. You might feel unproductive, anxious about not doing enough, or worried about falling behind. But what if this period of quiet consolidation is the most productive time of all? What if, like the tree, you are using this time to become more resilient for the springs and summers yet to come? It's a bit like a computer running a critical update in the background. It seems quiet, but vital changes are being made. A mainstream historical fact about Stoic practice involved moments of reflection and meditation, often performed in solitude. While not always tied to a specific season, these periods mirrored the internal, unseen growth of winter, allowing the individual to review their judgments, reinforce their principles, and prepare for future challenges. Historians still argue whether some Stoics engaged in more intense forms of asceticism, sometimes bordering on monasticism, to foster this inner detachment and quiet strength, but the core idea of purposeful introspection was widespread. Consider a quirky or fringe tidbit. In some ancient cultures, winter was seen as a time for storytelling and passing down wisdom, a period when the outward work ceased and the inward work of cultural memory and learning deepened. Imagine huddling by a fire, listening to tales of ancestors, internalizing lessons that couldn't be learned during the busy seasons of planting and harvesting. This echoes the Stoic idea that wisdom often blooms in stillness. You might recall our earlier exploration of accepting what cannot be changed. Here, you're not just accepting the external cold, but actively using the quietude it brings for your own internal development. You are learning to trust the unseen processes, to find peace in the present moment's quiet, and to know that beneath the surface, something powerful is always being built. Emerging from the quiet depths of winter's unseen growth, you witness a miracle that a Stoic recognizes as a powerful metaphor for life: spring's tender rebirth. The first green shoots, the swelling buds, the soft blush of new leaves, these aren't just aesthetic delights. They represent the Stoic understanding that every ending is a new beginning, a profound cycle of renewal that demands both acceptance and hope. Imagine the tree, which only weeks ago stood stark and bare, now beginning to unfurl its vibrant, tender leaves. It doesn't cling to the harshness of winter, nor does it lament the passing of its dormant phase. It simply responds to the warmth, allowing life to surge through its veins once more. This is the Stoic embrace of amor fati, not just loving what is, but loving what comes next, even if it means letting go of what was. It's a quiet faith in the universe's unfolding, a recognition that just as winter yields to spring, so too does every challenge present an opportunity for fresh starts. You might find yourself wishing to hold onto a past comfort or grieve a lost opportunity, but the tree simply moves forward, always forward. This principle is about finding the profound sense of renewal that follows periods of difficulty. It's easy to feel disheartened when things end, a job, a relationship, a dream. But the Stoic perspective gently guides you to see these conclusions not as finality, but as necessary clearing for new growth. Just as the tree sheds its old leaves to conserve energy for new ones, you too can shed old habits, old ways of thinking, old attachments, to make space for renewed purpose. What if letting go isn't a loss, but the essential act of creating space for something new and vital to emerge? It's a bit like clearing out your closet. You can't add new clothes if you're still clinging to everything you've ever owned. A mainstream historical fact, the cyclical nature of seasons, with death and rebirth, was a common theme in ancient philosophical and religious thought, often used to symbolize human mortality and spiritual renewal. While not exclusively Stoic, the Stoics integrated this natural rhythm into their understanding of the logos, the rational order of the universe. They saw it as a powerful reminder that change is the only constant, and resisting it is futile. Consider a quirky or fringe tidbit. Some ancient Roman festivals, like the Cerealia in honor of Ceres, the goddess of agriculture, celebrated the return of spring and the rebirth of crops with joyous rituals, highlighting humanity's deep-seated connection to these natural cycles of renewal. Imagine the collective relief and joy at the first signs of green, a primal recognition of life's persistence. Historians still argue whether the Stoics, with their emphasis on reason, fully embraced the more emotional or ritualistic aspects of these natural celebrations, but the philosophical lesson of rebirth was undoubtedly significant to them. You recall our earlier discussions about remembering impermanence, memento mori. This idea of spring's rebirth is its joyful counterpoint. Impermanence means things end, but it also means things begin. It means that just as the leaves fall, they will also return. You are learning to embrace both sides of that coin, finding peace in the ebb and flow, and seeing each ending not as a final curtain, but as the stage being set for the next beautiful act. As spring's tender rebirth washes over the land, you are guided towards a deeper, more profound understanding of nature's relentless dance, the ceaseless cycle of awareness. Just as the seasons endlessly turn, so too does your journey of growth and change continue, a constant shedding and renewal. This is the Stoic lesson that change is not just an occasional event, but the very fabric of existence, and learning to let go is fundamental to moving forward. Imagine the tree as its leaves mature through spring and summer, soaking in the sun, performing its vital work. But as autumn approaches, those very leaves, once so vibrant and essential, begin to dry, to change color, and eventually to fall. The tree doesn't resist this process, doesn't desperately try to glue the leaves back on. It understands that releasing the old is necessary to conserve energy, to prepare for the quiet strength of winter and the promise of new life in spring. This echoes Marcus Aurelius's constant reminder that all things are in flux, urging you to accept the transient nature of phenomena and not cling to what must inevitably pass. What if clinging to what is fading is actually more painful than the letting go? It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more quickly it slips away. This principle emphasizes that letting go isn't a single event, but an ongoing process. It's about recognizing when something has served its purpose, when a phase is complete, and gracefully allowing it to depart. This could be anything from old habits that no longer serve you, to past grievances that weigh you down, to even successes that, if clung to, can prevent future growth. You might feel a pang of nostalgia, a yearning for what was. But the tree teaches you to observe these feelings without letting them take root and prevent your necessary shedding. A mainstream historical fact, the concept of universal flux, that everything flows, was a cornerstone of pre-Socratic Greek philosophy, notably Heraclitus, and deeply influenced the Stoics' understanding of the cosmos. They saw the constant change in nature as a reflection of the divine logos, the rational order of the universe, urging humans to align their lives with this natural flow rather than fighting against it. Historians still argue about the extent to which Stoics believed in a purely cyclical universe versus one with a linear progression, but the emphasis on constant change remained central. Consider a quirky or fringe tidbit. Some ancient philosophical schools used memory palaces or intricate mental exercises to catalog and then deliberately discard old information, not to forget it entirely, but to practice the act of mental detachment and making space for new knowledge. Imagine mentally walking through a vast library in your mind, respectfully noting each book, but then consciously closing sections, knowing that new volumes are always arriving. This is about cultivating a mental agility, a willingness to shed. You might recall our earlier discussion about remembering impermanence, memento mori. Here, you are not just contemplating the end of life, but the continuous mini-deaths of ideas, situations, and even parts of yourself that make room for renewal. You're learning to dance with change, not to fight it. As you witness the relentless cycle of change and embrace the necessity of letting go, you're now ready to cultivate a pivotal Stoic strength, absorbing reason's light. Just as the tree draws energy from the sun, you must learn to absorb the objective light of reason, allowing it to illuminate your perceptions and guide your choices, unclouded by the shadows of emotion. This was a core tenet for all Stoics, but particularly emphasized by Epictetus, who taught that true freedom comes from distinguishing what is within your control, your judgments, from what is not. Imagine you're walking through a dense forest. The path ahead is unclear, shrouded in mist, and your emotions, fear, uncertainty, impatience, are trying to pull you in a dozen different directions. You might feel an urge to rush blindly forward or to simply give up. But the Stoic approach is different. It's about pausing, bringing forth the lamp of reason, and systematically burning away the mist of your subjective feelings. You ask yourself, what are the facts here? What can I actually know? What is the rational response, independent of how I feel? It's like a scientist observing a phenomenon. They don't let their personal biases or hopes distort their findings. They strive for pure, unadulterated truth. This principle is about developing the ability to see things as they are, not as you wish them to be or as your passing moods color them. When someone criticizes you, your immediate emotional reaction might be defensiveness or hurt, but reason's light asks, is there truth in their words? What is the objective reality of their statement? This detachment from immediate emotional response allows you to learn, to grow, and to act wisely. What if much of the drama in your life isn't caused by events, but by your emotional interpretations of those events? It's a bit like complaining that the weather is bad when it's raining, when objectively, it's just water falling from the sky. Your judgment makes it bad. A mainstream historical fact. The Stoics believed that human beings possess the unique capacity for reason, a spark of the divine logos, universal reason, that orders the cosmos. Cultivating this reason was considered the highest human good, allowing individuals to live in harmony with nature's rational flow. This pursuit of objective truth through reason was a fundamental departure from relying solely on tradition or emotion. Historians still argue about the precise techniques Stoics used to train their reason, beyond logical argumentation, but consistent self-examination was certainly key. Consider a quirky or fringe tidbit. Some ancient philosophers engaged in thought experiments where they would deliberately try to view a situation from the perspective of an impartial observer, or even from the perspective of the universe itself, to strip away personal bias. Imagine trying to see your current struggle as if you were a tiny speck on a distant star, observing it with complete detachment. This mental exercise helps to diminish the emotional weight of a situation and allows reason to prevail. You might recall our earlier discussion about questioning judgments and perceptions. Absorbing reason's light is the sustained, daily practice of that principle, turning it into an inherent part of your being. You are learning to illuminate your own path, not with the flickering flame of emotion, but with the steady, unwavering glow of pure reason. With the clear light of reason now illuminating your perceptions, you find yourself drawn to a deeply grounding practice, one that feels as vital as the sun to a growing tree, the canopy of gratitude. Just as the tree spreads its leaves wide to absorb nourishment, you learn to consciously appreciate what you have, transforming simple awareness into profound contentment. This isn't a naive optimism, but a robust Stoic method for cultivating joy and inner richness, a practice deeply encouraged by philosophers like Marcus Aurelius. Imagine standing beneath the vast, sheltering canopy of an ancient oak. You don't focus on the few fallen leaves or the bare patch of ground beneath. Instead, your gaze is drawn upwards to the myriad of leaves, each one perfectly formed, filtering the sunlight into gentle patterns on the forest floor. You observe the subtle rustle of the wind through them, the tiny creatures finding shelter within their embrace. This isn't about ignoring the imperfections of the tree, but about fully recognizing and valuing its immense gifts. This is how gratitude functions. It redirects your attention from what is lacking to the abundance that already surrounds you. You might find yourself caught in the trap of wanting more, of constantly comparing what you have to what others possess. But what if true richness isn't about accumulation, but about appreciation? It's a bit like owning a beautiful painting and constantly wishing it were a different one. You miss the beauty that's right in front of you. This principle emphasizes that gratitude is an active choice, a mental discipline. It's not a fleeting emotion that strikes you occasionally. It's a daily practice of seeking out and acknowledging the good, however small. You can be grateful for the simple fact of breathing, for the warmth of your clothing, for a kind word from a stranger. These are the nutrients that feed your inner state, making you less susceptible to the winds of discontent. It's a profound understanding that happiness isn't something that happens to you, but something you actively cultivate within you. A mainstream historical fact, Marcus Aurelius, despite his immense power and the constant anxieties of leading the Roman Empire, consistently recorded his gratitude in his meditations. He thanked his teachers, his parents, even the universe itself for the challenges that strengthened him. This wasn't merely a polite gesture. It was a core part of his philosophical exercise to maintain inner peace and perspective. Historians still argue about the extent to which ordinary Roman citizens practiced Stoic gratitude formally, but the idea of appreciating one's lot in life was a widespread cultural virtue. Consider a quirky or fringe tidbit. Some ancient philosophers, and indeed various spiritual traditions, would practice a reversal of fortune exercise, where they would imagine losing everything they cherished, their home, their health, their loved ones, and then mentally restore them, feeling a profound wave of relief and gratitude for what they already possessed. Imagine waking up and briefly pretending you've lost your sense of sight, then opening your eyes and feeling an overwhelming appreciation for vision. This sharpens your awareness of often overlooked blessings. You might recall our discussions on voluntary discomfort. Gratitude is its mirror image, taking what is given and finding immense value in it. You are learning to nourish your soul, not with external gains, but with the boundless resources of a grateful heart. With your spirit now nourished by the expansive canopy of gratitude, you deepen your understanding of the tree's fundamental strength, the strength of the virtuous trunk. Just as the tree's core provides unwavering support, you learn to live by an internal standard of integrity, honesty, courage, justice, and wisdom, prioritizing these virtues above all else. This isn't about seeking external praise. It's about the inherent good of acting rightly, a principle established by Zeno of Citium and forming the very backbone of Stoic philosophy. Imagine that ancient tree, standing tall and true, even when storms rage around it. Its trunk doesn't bend to the whims of the wind, nor does it twist to seek the easiest path. It simply is sturdy, rooted, and upright. This embodies the Stoic commitment to virtue for its own sake. You don't act justly because someone is watching, or because it will bring you a reward. You act justly because it is the nature of a rational being to act justly, because it aligns with your deepest sense of self and the rational order of the universe. It's like a craftsman who builds a perfect chair, not for the buyer's approval, but because precision and quality are inherent to their craft. What if the most profound freedom comes from living a life so aligned with virtue that external circumstances lose their power to corrupt you? This principle emphasizes that true strength comes from within, from an unshakable commitment to your moral compass. When faced with a choice, the Stoic asks, what is the virtuous thing to do, not what is convenient? Or what will make me popular? This unflinching adherence to your principles, even when it's difficult or unpopular, is what builds the robust character that can withstand any storm. You might feel tempted to compromise your values for a temporary gain or to avoid a difficult confrontation, but the virtuous trunk reminds you that integrity is priceless and cannot be traded, a mainstream historical fact. The Stoics famously articulated the four cardinal virtues: wisdom, the knowledge of what is good, bad, and indifferent; justice, fairness, and benevolence; courage, facing fear and difficulty with rationality; and temperance, self-control and moderation. These were not just abstract ideals, they were practical guidelines for every action and decision, seen as interconnected and essential for a flourishing life. Historians still argue about the extent to which Stoics believed in the possibility of absolute moral perfection, but the continuous striving for virtue was central to their teaching. Consider a quirky or fringe tidbit. Some ancient philosophers, including Stoics, used to engage in public debates or diatribes specifically to test and harden their virtuous resolve. Imagine standing in the marketplace, calmly defending a difficult truth against a hostile crowd, not to win an argument, but to strengthen your own conviction in the face of pressure. This was a form of training for the virtuous trunk, ensuring it wouldn't waver. You might recall our earlier discussions about voluntary discomfort and accepting winter's harshness. Living virtuously for its own sake is the spiritual application of that same fortitude. You are cultivating an inner fortress, built not of stone, but of unwavering character, making you unshakable no matter what life throws your way. With your inner trunk now fortified by unyielding virtue, you arrive at a critical, liberating truth, echoing the tree's silent wisdom, the seed of best effort. Just as the tree releases its seeds to the wind, doing its best to propagate life without dictating where each seed lands, you learn to pour your full effort into your actions, then gracefully detach from the specific outcomes. This vital balance between diligent striving and peaceful acceptance combines the practical wisdom of Seneca and the clear distinctions of Epictetus. Imagine an ancient farmer meticulously preparing their soil, carefully selecting the finest seeds, and sowing them with unwavering dedication. They water, they tend, they protect against pests. They do everything in their power to ensure a bountiful harvest. But when the season is over, they don't despair if a drought comes or if some seeds don't sprout. They learn from the season, accept what transpired, and prepare for the next. This is the Stoic way. Your excellence lies in the process, in the quality of your effort, not solely in the result. You might feel immense pressure to achieve a specific goal, to control every variable, to guarantee success. But what if real power lies in giving your all, then letting go of the reins? It's like trying to force a river to flow uphill. You can struggle, but its nature dictates its path. This principle emphasizes that while you are absolutely responsible for your intentions and your actions, the world is complex, and many factors influence the final outcome. The Stoics understood this profoundly. They urged you to act with virtue, with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance in every endeavor. Do your best, strive for excellence. But once your part is done, release the anxiety about whether it succeeds according to your narrow definition. Your peace shouldn't be held hostage by external circumstances, a mainstream historical fact. Stoic philosophers frequently discuss the distinction between preferred indifference, like health or wealth, and dispreferred indifference, like illness or poverty. While they allowed for a rational preference for the former, they insisted that your happiness should not be dependent on achieving them. Your well-being derived from how you strived and reacted, not what you acquired. This forms the basis of doing your best, then accepting the outcome. Historians still argue whether some Stoics leaned too heavily into a fatalistic acceptance, potentially discouraging proactive efforts for change, but the core teaching remained about internal tranquility. Consider a quirky or fringe tidbit. Some ancient Roman orators would prepare their speeches with meticulous detail, practicing every word, every gesture, but would also mentally prepare for the possibility of a hostile crowd or an unexpected interruption. Their focus was on delivering their best possible speech, not on controlling the audience's reaction. Imagine reciting a powerful poem to a completely distracted audience. Your virtue isn't in their applause, but in the beauty and effort of your recitation. You might recall our earlier point about accepting what cannot be changed. Here, you're not just accepting the inevitable, but actively embracing the unpredictability that comes after your best effort. You are planting the seeds of your actions with care, then trusting the universe to provide the sunshine, the rain, and the wind, knowing that your true worth lies in the sowing, not just the reaping. With your best effort now sown and the outcome serenely accepted, you reach the culminating wisdom, mirroring the tree's ultimate form, the wise direction of the branch. Just as each branch extends purposefully, guided by an internal logic, you learn to make every choice based on reason, not the fleeting whims of emotion. This is the very essence of Stoic ethics, originating with Zeno of Citium, and recognizing that true harmony with nature comes from aligning your decisions with rational thought. Imagine that ancient tree, its branches spreading wide, each one reaching towards the light, finding its optimal path through the air. No branch twists irrationally, no twig grows simply for the sake of emotional outburst. Every extension is a response to its environment, guided by the tree's internal blueprint for flourishing. This is how reason functions in your life. It's the internal compass that guides your every choice, ensuring that your actions are aligned with your highest values and the objective reality of the situation, rather than being swayed by the turbulent currents of anger, desire, or fear. You might feel a powerful urge to react impulsively to a slight or to chase an immediate pleasure, but the wise branch whispers, pause, consider, what is the rational course? It's like a ship's captain navigating by the stars, not by the shifting tides of their own mood. This principle isn't about becoming emotionless. That's a common misunderstanding, a playful jab about Stoics being cold and unfeeling. Far from it, Stoics acknowledged emotions as natural phenomena, but they trained themselves not to be enslaved by them. They understood that emotions, left unchecked, can lead to poor judgment, regret, and ultimately suffering. Reason, by contrast, is your tool for discerning what is truly good, what aligns with virtue, and what leads to long-term tranquility. What if the most profound freedom isn't found in acting on every impulse, but in choosing your responses with conscious, rational intent? A mainstream historical fact, the Stoics believed that the universe is governed by a rational principle, the logos, and that human beings, uniquely, share in this universal reason. Therefore, living in accordance with nature meant living in accordance with this divine reason within themselves. This wasn't merely intellectual. It was a practical guide for ethical living. Every choice was an opportunity to express your rational nature. Historians still debate the precise philosophical implications of Stoic determinism and free will, but the individual's imperative to use reason remained paramount. Consider a quirky or fringe tidbit. Some ancient philosophers practiced a form of premeditation of evils, premeditatio malorum, not to dwell on negativity, but to rationally consider potential difficulties and plan how to face them with reason, thereby stripping them of their emotional sting. Imagine rationally dissecting a potential financial setback, not to panic, but to consider practical steps and accept the possibilities. This is using reason as a shield against emotional reactivity. You might recall our earlier lessons on questioning judgments and absorbing reason's light. The wise direction of the branch is the culmination of these practices, where reason becomes your default mode of operation. You are learning to prune away what is unnecessary and to extend your actions with purpose, creating a life that is both beautiful in its form and resilient in its core. The ancient lamplight softens, casting long, peaceful shadows across the room. The whispers of the old tree, its lessons of deep roots and seasonal growth, now settle into the quiet corners of your mind. You've walked through its metaphorical seasons, understanding patience, embracing hardship, recognizing hidden growth, celebrating renewal, and learning the profound wisdom of reason. Feel your breath deepen, slowing to a gentle rhythm, much like the steady, unseen processes within the earth. The constant striving, the hurried pace of the world outside, seems to recede, replaced by a quiet strength that resonates from within. You carry with you the understanding that true resilience isn't about avoiding the storms, but about having roots deep enough to weather them. Your growth, like the trees, is a continuous, often unseen process, guided by patience and the clear light of your own reason. Let this wisdom comfort you, a gentle lullaby for your journey. Rest now, letting the spirit of the ancient tree guide you into a tranquil sleep.